check. Mic check. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another stream. So I want to make sure I get audio going. Yeah, I can hear it. All right, cool. All right, so thank you for anyone who is hopping on the live. In this live editing session, what I'm going to be doing is going over using power windows and color grading, as you see from the title. But yeah, the power of power windows. I use it a lot when I'm color grading. It's a great way to shape light, add light to people's faces. You can really manipulate a lot with power windows, and just one method you can use when you're color grading. So there's a lot of different ways you can use power windows. You can have them do a lot of different things in Davinci Resolve, but I'm primarily going to be going over how to basically add light and reshape light in certain areas. So let's go ahead and hop over into Davinci Resolve and get started here. All right, so I have a bunch of clips that I just pulled in from a stock website, Pexels, and all of the shots I'm using are linked below. I wanted to give credit to the people who shot these clips and uploaded them, obviously, but then you can also, if you want to play around with the same clips that I use, you can go to the link and download them yourself as well. So like I said, these are not my clips. I download them off of a stock website. All right, so let's go ahead and get going. So we got the clips laid out here. Got a different variety of situations happening. So let's go ahead and hop over to the color page. And what we want to do, I just want to double check and make sure the stream is looking good. Okay, cool. Nichols Media, what's up, man? Thank you for hopping on. Thanks for being here. I remember you from the last stream. All right, cool. So we're just gonna hop in here. So let's go ahead and switch this over. That can stay actually, it's not a big deal. All right, so what we're gonna do is just dive right in. There's a lot of different ways. So when you're on a color page, you can kind of just scroll here on this tab and see all the different, I guess windows or panels, or you can switch to. We're gonna come over to the one that says window. And they're called, a lot of times you'll hear people reference them as power windows and things like that. So what we're going to do is start. So let's just say like we got to know from the client. And they said, love the shot, the color is good and everything. But see that I want to bring his face up a little bit. Let's just say they wanted to bring the face up. Although actually, I don't really think someone would want to bring the face up necessarily in this situation because it's pretty bright, but let's just say that was what they wanted to do. You can hit the let me go back. You can I'm just going to grab a circle, and you can do a couple of different things. So we're going to play with them. So we got a circle here, and all I'm going to do is basically kind of shape it around our model's face here, and kind of try to get it in there. And I like to feather things out to make it super natural looking, so it's not super obvious. And what I'm going to do, the other thing you can do that's really cool about power windows is you can track them. So if you come over to the tracker, and then what I do is I click on this one is an arrow going left and right, and it says track forward and reverse. You do that, and Davinci Resolve analyzes the clip and tracks the face. So now that window is like locked in, which is cool because you don't have to go through and keyframe. You can keyframe, and have the keyframe thing pulled up here. You could go by hand and like follow his face, but this works pretty well. It wasn't a complicated move anyway, so it's not too bad, but you can see it moves with him, which is really cool. All right, so let's just say I'm gonna throw some nodes down here, and we got the tracker. We just got the tracker on this one. So let's just say they're like bring the face up, or they could say bring the face down too. Right now it's set up to where everything inside the window is affected. And I'm gonna show you how to invert it later if we wanted to do that as well. So let's just go over to, let's just go to HDR, and let's just grab global. And let's just say, yeah, we just want to get the exposure on his face down a little bit. So just like an overall effect. And you might not want to go too much. All right, so let's just say we're happy with that. If you come over to the bottom of the window, you see this little arrow, little caret thing you can click on. You can go off and it'll move the power window out of the way, so it's not like blocking your view. And then, excuse me. And then another thing that I do is I'll come over and kind of on and off it. So if you just click on the node, let's just say like here where it says number 1, just click there, it mutes it, and you can go on and off. So let's just say, you know, we're playing it before and after. So let's just say we're like, all right, cool, yeah, that's what we want. Let's just play it, make sure it looks fine. And it looks good. It doesn't look like anything. It doesn't even look like anything's there. That's also the benefit of feathering it, because it helps it to basically blend it into the scene a little bit better. So I'm going to go back, put the power window back on, and show you, like, if you don't feather it, you'll see like the hard lines a little bit easier. Click off of that. You can really zoom in and you can really see the mask that was created, and that's obviously not natural. So that's why we want to feather, so you don't get that type of effect. It sticks to them, but it's like not what we want, because it's like, okay, well, that's obvious. So there's a couple of different ways you can like soften it or feather it out. You can come into the window panel here and see where it says transform and softness. You can do that here too. And that's also, you see the outer circle is moving, but you can also just grab these red dots here and do that as well. But it's the same thing. So you have the options. So yeah, I just feathered it out. Now you click off of it and you see that it's not noticeable now. It's not like that hard line that was there before. It's like, oh, is anything, you know, it just looks like, you know, you just brought exposure down. And that's a cool way if you want to just bring exposure down just on him and not everything. Let's say you want to do the inverse of what we just did. You can come back to the window panel here and see these two squares. If hopefully you can see, I'm not even sure if the mouse shows up properly like that on. Okay, you can kind of see me clicking. You got these dots. There's like this square with a circle in it, and it says, I'm trying to get it to highlight, but it's basically inverse the mask. It's not highlighting. If you click it, it essentially flips what you did. It inverts it. So now everything we did is affecting the everything outside of the window. This is by default, when you draw a circle or a shape or anything like that, it's affecting everything inside of it. But then if you invert it by clicking this button here, it will basically flip it. So you can kind of see, I'm gonna pull up and show you what's happening. If you hit Shift H, you can see what your mask is doing. So everything that is, hold on, invert it. So everything that's gray is not getting affected right now. Yeah, I'm right. Everything that's gray is not getting affected. And if you hit the invert button, then now it does the opposite. So now the face is not getting affected, at least not as much. A little bit of it is. Shift H off, and you can see what that looks like. So you might be like, oh, that's kind of cool. I actually like that better, where we're darkening the scene around him and his face is standing out. And in that case, if that's what the client wanted, what I would do is, instead of that, I would draw like a mask around his whole body, something like that. And then track that. Do the tracking motion again. I mean, you can play with it. I'm not concerned that all his body is not in there, but I mean, if you wanted to get it all in there, you can. I'm feathering it so much too, and then I don't want it to hit the background so much. I don't want it to be obvious that there's something around him, if that makes sense. But let me just check that one more time. As that's going, yeah, being able to track automatically is so nice. So you can see the scene. Nothing looks, that's the thing. You don't want anything to look jarring. You want it to feel natural. And essentially what we did was bring down everything around him. And now he's standing out more in the scene. Like that. So another way, let's just say you didn't want to, let's just say you wanted to only get part of the scene. So I'm going to reset this node. Reset node grade. Another tool you can use is you have this one here. It's like this. Oh no, that's the wrong one. Wrong one. My bad. Undo that. This one has like a gradient to it, and I like this one because it adds like it's like a gradient effect essentially. So I'll just kind of show you. It's easy for me just to show you and try to explain it, but. If I go back over to my exposure wheels here, and everything to the right of this arrow is getting affected. Shift H. Everything that's gray is not getting affected. So everything on the opposite side. So you can see as I move this around, I'm basically bringing like this shadow, like this darkness across the whole scene. But let's just say I wanted to do that just to bring down that area. And then if you pull this, you can, this is also another way of like softening it or feathering it, and you can spin it around and stuff too. But essentially, if you come do the softness, you'll see the arrow go out further. So I'm going to soften it out to make that just go gradually across, so it's not like this obvious, like, oh my gosh, we're just, it's like this hard line. We don't want that. So now play it through, and you can on and off it. And you can see what it did. So there's a bunch of different ways to do things, but that's, one use case that you could use to do that. So, that's that. And then you can stack them. Let's say you want another one. So we said that was what, let's just call that background. And then we'll do another one, and we will call it actor. And then draw a circle around him again. And let's just say we still wanted to bring his face down a little bit more or something. This is like if you want to do fine tune things. Obviously you could do like an overall, exposure setting, but that's not the point of this tutorial today. I'm talking about power windows. And then I'm going to go back to HDR. Just go ahead and bring it down a little bit. And exposure. Drag that softness. Love to soften it out as much as I can because it really helps to sell the look a little bit more. So I can come up here to the this is bypass color grade infusion at the top right. It's like there's a rainbow color with like stars in it, and this is what we had, and this is what we just did. So if someone was like, oh, the exposure is too much, can you bring that down? That's a way you could do it. Not saying that's the right way to do it. That's just an option. All right, let's move on to another shot. Now this one, I'm gonna do a similar type of thing. This is a darker type of a shot. And let's just say they were like, all right, we love the way the background looks. Can you just bring her face up in exposure? So same type of situation. All I would do is draw a mask around, and this one, let's switch it up a little bit. No, we'll do, let's switch it up. Let's just say we want to get very specific and just be like, we're just gonna, not that you need to do this, but you can also draw a mask around if you want to be very specific and just do, let's say we wanted to do just part of her face. That's how I'll do this one. So it's a little bit different. So let's say they're like, can you just bring up the left side of her face a little bit? We don't want that much contrast. We want her face to be pretty evenly lit. Because sometimes you'll get that where people are like, yeah, I don't like that. I mean, her face is pretty even anyway, but you can tell this side's a little darker on the left. It's a little darker on the left side. So what we're going to do, HDR, let's just do global. We're just going to lift that up a little bit just to kind of balance it out. And I'm going to over exaggerate it quick just so you can see what's happening. So I'm only changing the exposure on this side of her face. Let's see a question here. He said, could you also use relight for this scene? You probably can, but to be honest, I haven't really messed with the relight, so I'm not positive. I mean, I know theoretically how relight works. I'm sure you could. I haven't really messed with it a lot, so I'd have to play with it a little bit more. I've never played with it at all, to be honest with you. I'd have to really play with it to see, but that to me, relight is so heavy-handed from the tutorials I've seen people do that I would probably want to do something like this to make it more subtle. But 100%, I mean, there's so many different ways to do things. You definitely could. So that's a little bit much. Let's go on and off. So I'm gonna feather it too, so it's not like obvious. So you can do the softness here too. Let me turn the power window off, because you can see that obviously her face is like split, and I actually went lighter on this side, but that's okay. It's not that I would necessarily do this. I'm just wanting it to be obvious so you can see. I just softened it up. And let's just say we're just going to bring it down a little bit more. Okay, that feels a lot better. So we're going to on and off that. And you can see this is where her face was. It's so subtle. It's very subtle. But a lot of color grading, a lot of times it's just very subtle things you do. This is where it was. I'm going to zoom in so we can really see what's happening there. That's where it was. And that's what we brought it to. And it kind of washes out a little bit. So maybe you want to add a little contrast or something back into her. Oh, too much. Just a little bit. It's literally so subtle. So that I just wanted to show you that. So I'll come back here, power window. So now what we need to do is track it. And this is, you can see like a more advanced way of the tracking, how it works, and it works really well. But she's running and moving and it's sticking to her, so which is good. So, which is nice because you don't have to keyframe that. Can you imagine having to go, literally you would have to go frame by frame to make sure it stayed on, but we stayed on the whole time. Now I'm going to play it back. Let's go ahead and turn that off. It's still there, on and off. And you see it's very slight, but it's a little bit. And let's go ahead and play that through. And it looks fine. It's like sticking. I'm gonna exaggerate it just so we can see it because it's so hard to tell. But let's say they wanted to go the other way. Actually, they were like, you know what? We need more drama. We want less exposure, which I don't think you will ever hear anybody say. Less exposure, said no one, no producer or anything like that ever. But let's just say they did. Let's just say they were like, you know what? Let's just push it. We're going to really push that shadow side. Okay. So yeah, that doesn't even look realistic, but I definitely pushed it. But the cool thing is that the shadow still stick. I mean, the what we did still sticks. It didn't go away. The tracking is what I'm trying to say. Still sticks. So you know, you can say like we did it. So yeah, I mean that's the cool thing. I mean, if we wanted to we could do the similar situation that we did in the other one and just draw a whole mask around her. And in this case, I would do a circle just to try to make it seem not as rigid by doing just a drawing around her, because you want it to feel like she's getting lit by something, you know. So let's just I'm gonna do an invert and basically darken everything around her. So we're gonna flip it, and then we're gonna do global, just bring everything around her down, and then I'm gonna give his mask a little bit, feather it some more. All right, cool. Oops, didn't mean to do that. All right, so let's go back to. All right. This might be a spot where you would maybe want to do the pen tool if you needed to be precise. Here we got that there. So let's turn this off so we can see on and off. This is what it was. That's what we just did, which is cool. You know, it just brings more, you know, focus in on the model. So pull this up so we can see what's going on. Go track it. Again, this is what I love about using power windows, is because you can do things like this, shape light, make adjustments, do fine tune things, and you can track it. You know, you don't have to like, oh, if I light it and she moves, she's going to be out of the shot. I'm just going to be out of what I just did, you know, so it's really cool. But yeah, so let's go ahead and turn that off, and we're going to play it through again. Just making sure that it's still going. Is it not playing? Oh, it is playing. I'm about to say, that's crazy. It looks like it is playing. Okay, cool. But yeah, so there you go. You can see if you look closely, obviously you can tell, but it's kind of an effect anyway. So if you want to go for something like a dreamy effect, or if you wanted to, even another thing you could do, it doesn't have to always be about the lighting. Within that same mask, you could do a blur radius. So what I'll do is, where was I? Yeah, mask here, tracker, and you have blur, and then you can change your blur radius and go up. Just pull the radius up, and it really changes. It brings a blur in. You can play around with different things, how it looks. All right, so now the tracking's still going to be there too, so you don't have to do that all over again. Now you look. We have that lighting effect, and we blurred it. So if you want to be like, I don't know, muffled audio. She's in her head thinking, you know, about something. You know, she's like like locked in or whatever. There you go. And that's where it was. And that's what we just did. I think that's pretty cool, actually. But anyway, moving on to the next one. This one, let's say... This one I would not do this in because the shot's already very dark and there's already noise. And as you play with exposure, you introduce more noise into your scene. If it's already a dark scene, so you don't really want to do that. But this is just for like the theory aspect of it. You could essentially brighten him up. Because let's say someone's like, oh, he's pretty dark. I can't really see him stand out from the rest of the background in the city and stuff like that. So we're just gonna do the same thing we did before. I'm just gonna grab a mask, put it around him, and this time I'm gonna shrink it a lot because we're just trying to get his body. That should be pretty good. Feather it out, and then I'm going to go to HDR global, and we're gonna bring him up. I can't really see what's happening. Did it do anything? Yeah, it did. It's just a dark scene. All right. Okay, cool. So let's just push it a little bit more. Let me pull up. I'm gonna pull up the shadows. All right. Again, over exaggerated. And then I'm also going to feather it some more. All right, let's go ahead and track him. You can track first too if you want, so that way you get that out the way. So it looks like it's kind of struggling to keep him in, actually grabbing the background and not grabbing him. So we're gonna, it didn't do a great job of it that time. So I'm gonna try to get it to lock in on him a little bit better this time. Okay, maybe I have too much of the background grabbed. So what I'm going to do, this might be a situation too where it'd be better to draw him, which if this still doesn't work right, I might just do that because I wanted to hone in on him a little bit better. Let's see what happens. Yeah, it's so wild. It's grabbing the background and at him. That's so interesting. Let's see if we can figure this out. Because it definitely is just lighting that spot. He gets in it a couple times, but yeah, I think we're gonna have to probably draw a mask on this one. So let's reset the node. Oh, can I just get rid of it? Yeah, we're gonna delete it. No, I won't let you do it that way. I'm just gonna reset the node. All right, we're gonna draw around our subject here and hopefully get it resolved to realize what we're trying to do. So I'm gonna just try to stick just on him, and then we'll still feather it out so it won't be like missing bits and pieces of him. But again, he's so small in the frame. Not small, but he's like not close in the frame. So it shouldn't have any issue because the data points should really only grab what's inside of here. And I'm keeping it to being just him. I'm gonna see if I can get away with doing this. I don't have to go all the way around. We'll see. But if not, if it still grabs that little piece, then I may have to. All right, let's track this out now. All right, it's doing the better job. It is really struggling with this one. This is not a wow. All right, well, this is not a great use case for this, and I'm not about to sit here in a keyframe, but you could, and it could be something maybe if I do frame, it might do better. Stabilizer, clear all tracking points. Let's just do this, see what happens. Frame seems to do a little bit better, actually. It still got funky. It keeps getting off and grabbing that. That's so weird that it's doing that. Rotate percent 2D. All right, this is one of those you have to go in and play with it a little bit, but you could track him out. This is definitely one of those where it's like, oh man, if they ask for that, it'd be like, ugh, because you have to go in and track it. But essentially, same thing. Come over, brighten them up. I'm gonna think about this as we're going, see if I can find a better way to do it, because I feel like there is. I feel like there would have to be, because you can't. There's no way that it can't do that. But yeah, that's the concept anyway. And like I said, you can go through and track it and fix that. We're gonna move on to this one. Now with this shot, I'm gonna keep it pretty much simple because let's say they're like, no, yeah, her exposure is fine. We just want we want the scene to be a little bit moodier and darker. So you could do an overall, adjustment, but they might say, no, don't mess with her. We want her to be as is. So we're gonna mask again. And you can do different shapes too. You don't always have to use, you can use the square shape. You can like the box, you can play with it how you need to. These are great for like a wall or something like that, whatever you're needing to do. So undo that. I'm gonna grab another circle, shape it around, go around like that. Okay. And the whole thing with what I'm showing you is about like simple little fixes. I mean, you can go a lot more detail with things and use stuff like relight and magic mask and really get in there and do stuff. But these are like for like quick adjustments. It doesn't always work. And I'm glad that didn't work because that showed us like, oh, actually you need to go in and fine tune that. That's too much movement for it. What we were trying to get that to do. So get this frame. I'm going to, she doesn't move, but the camera moves a little bit. You probably really don't need to track this, but I am going to track it anyway. But this is one of the, you don't always have to track, because like in this case, the camera's moving, but it's not like she's moving around in the frame. So I could have left it probably without having to track it, because she really isn't moving. All right, so now same thing, but this time I'm gonna invert it because we want to darken everything around her. And now I'll go to HDR. I like to work in the HDR tab. And we're going for more of a moody look because the client said, we need it moodier. So I'm like, all right, but we still want to be able to see her or something like that. And then it's like, you want to really get it crunchy. And then I would feather it like crazy because you don't want it to look so unrealistic. You can obviously tell that she stands out. And I probably wouldn't push it like this much. But that's just an example that she's at the same exposure she was. But it's just a lot. Everything else around her is darker. And you can see that it's not you can tell that, okay, yeah, there's like something's drawn around her. But that's just an example of what you can do. Right. So we did that. One more. So with this one, what I wanted to talk about was, I showed you in the other one too, but I really like doing this in like situations like this. Like this is like a lot of white, and it's like we want to draw the attention to the two models here. So what I would do is like, all right, their exposure is like fine. So hey, they're good. We like how they look. They're fine. Can we just bring some bring our attention to them a little bit more? We got a lot of white, like this white wall over here and this space here and this railing. So what I'm gonna do is use a couple nodes here, and I'm gonna say left wall, and I'm gonna say right. No label. I'm gonna say right side. I know that when I right click that those things don't pop up. I'm trying to figure that out, how they make it work within OBS. But when you right click on a node, you can hit node label, and you can change the name of it. So if you're in here and you right click, you'll see it. It's not showing up for me, unfortunately, for the stream. But what I'm gonna do now is go over to Windows, and we're gonna grab the gradient one again. And what I want to do is basically create, you can probably do it with a vignette, but I want to do it this way because it's like a little bit more, I can control it a little bit more, if that makes sense. So everything, we want to hit Shift H, everything gray's not getting affected, and that's what we want. We don't want them to get affected by this. So pull that over, Shift H again, and I'm just going to I'm going to get this exposure down off this wall. I'm going to bring this wall down. I like to start with global, and just to do like global, just kind of affecting everything. And then if I need to do more, I can go into the highlights and shadows and things. All right, that's cool. And now what I'm going to do is feather it out to try to make it a little bit more realistic. I tend to think like, if you have a shadow going down a wall, it's not going to be consistent. Like if the light is casting a shadow, or it's a gradient, you can see it's darker here, and it kind of slowly goes out, and it gets less and less. So I'm just going to kind of turn it and kind of try to shape it like that. And we know what I did, but if you didn't know what I did, it's like, oh, okay. And again, I did a lot. You don't have to do that much. Then let's say now I'm like, okay, cool. The right side, that's cool. The right side of the frame though, I want to try to get that down. And with some of this, I probably would just go to the highlights and adjust the highlights of the scene and bring it down that way too. But I want to try to get it with power windows because I can affect a certain area. and that affect the whole thing. Because maybe I want the white in her shirt to stay as is. Because if I do highlights, it's going to grab everything, which is fine. But we want to get a little bit more detailed, I guess the word would be. All right, I'm going to go back to power window and gradient again. Grab this, flip it that way, and let's bring this side of let's bring the exposure down on this side. Okay, Shift H. So I don't want it to be that much though. Let me see something. Make sure I can see what I'm doing. Ooh. So everything that way. Yeah, we'll do it like that. So what I'm gonna do, I inverted the gradient so that way I could bring it closer. Everything that's gray is not getting affected. So everything on this side is getting affected. When it was the other way, it was hard for me to try to achieve what I'm doing because they are getting hit and I'd have to like pull it over. But I want to invert it so that way it's darker. I'm explaining this so weird, but I'm just going to show you inverted gray. They're not getting hit. So now I can really have a clear line of like, okay, yeah, this is where I wanted to start hitting. It's right where the stairwell is. And I can shape it around that and feather it out more. But I think right there is cool. All right, Shift H off. All right, let's click on this one. All right, so this is what the scene is looking like. Let's put you back, fit it back. And I'm not tracking anything because I don't really need to because they're not moving and nothing's really moving. If it was like they were crossing or the camera was pushing in, then I would. But we're going to go off and on. So this is where it was, and that's what we just did. So again, I have to say that that is right or wrong. But if someone wanted to get the brightness down off the walls and not affect them, you could do it like that. And now the left side of the walls bother me. It's like it's too much. So I would probably like actually split the difference on the exposure. I keep looking at it. It's like that does not feel right. Cool. It's a little bit better. But yeah, this is color grading is so subjective anyway. But you can kind of come in. Yeah. I feathered it so much, so I'm kind of, I don't want it to yeah, they're not getting hit. That's good. Starting to get hit. That's where the feather is starting to come in. Okay. Let's pull it back a little bit more. Just kind of adjust that. Turn that off and on. So you can see what it's doing. Just a little bit. I didn't do a lot. But just kind of hitting. I always point, like you can see my hand. I'm just hitting kind of the corner and a little bit there, a little. You can back that off too if you don't like it. But yeah, there it is. So yeah, these are just a couple of simple ways to, shape light, add light in the scene. And if you wanted to bring their faces up more, you could do that, add another node. Let's sit here like, oh, can we bring the girl in the back, bring her face up a little bit more? And it's like, all right, sure, yeah. Let me add, I'm going to say PW for power window. For our actress in the back here, we're going to throw a little something on her face. So you can have, that's the other cool thing. You can, with using different nodes, you can have multiple power windows in one scene. You don't have to get stuck with just one thing. You don't have to try to affect everything in one node. You can like, oh yeah, let me get this person and get that person. So I use power windows a lot when I color grade for projects. It's just very helpful. It's definitely probably the tool I use literally the most when I'm color grading for projects. And we're just gonna give her a little boost. We don't want to overdo it. Just a little boost. And clip back on. Feather that a little bit more. Ooh, too much. All right, on and off it. Yeah, just a little something. Just a little pop. Zoom out. So that's where her face was. That's where it is now. So let's just take each thing off and add it one by one back in. So the client said, is there any way to fix this scene? They're fine. For the most part, the white is just so much white, but we want to bring focus to them. Well, yeah, let me get that wall because my eye goes straight to that wall. So let's hit that. Boom, that's down. Okay, cool. Yeah, that works. All right, the right side of the frame, though, is still like, can we just kind of knock that down a little bit? It's kind of distracting, and then definitely the railing here is bright and a little hot and overexposed. So we just do that, knock that down a little bit. Okay, cool. And then, I mean, I can keep going. I can add more behind them too. I didn't think about that. But they were like, all right, yeah, let's bring her face up a little bit. Boom, there we go. And it said, all right, yeah, let's just do one more. Let's just go ahead and get the top down. And I could be like, all right, cool, yeah. So let me just go to here. And then I'm going to be like, this isn't the one. There's another one I wanted to use. Yeah. I'm going to use this rectangle and throw it up here and stretch it out and kind of create like a top, like the top of the frame. We're going to bring out an exposure, if that makes sense. Yeah, so none of that just getting affected, just the top. And then do the same type of thing that we've been doing. We just basically we're not really adding light in this scene for real. We're taking it away. I'm gonna feather it. Favorite thing to do, gotta make sure we feather it out so that way it's soft and not so noticeable. But yeah, so now you see on the top, I did a little something. And I'll zoom in so you can see it a little bit better. Just a little something, just to bring it down. And it's a little obvious, to be honest with you. So I'd feather that out a little bit, slide it up. And now that I did that, it's a good thing I brought her face up because it's touching the top of her head a little bit. But yeah, so let me turn the power window off. So this is where it was. And just that little bit, we just took a lot away and we added a little bit of light to her face. This is where it was. And then we added all those pieces in and shaped it a little bit. And it creates so much, contrast, honestly, like, between like the lighter and darker parts. We're just shaping the light and giving it more definition, if anything. But yeah, it's cool. I like it, actually. Off and on. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I mean, usually you could probably do like a vignette and get a similar effect and just vignette around them and essentially do what we've been doing, get a mask, invert it, and basically just have them brighter and everything else darker, which that could work too. But this kind of, to me, feels a little bit more organic because you're going in piece by piece and you're almost kind of painting in a way. So I like it. And you can do the inverse of this by lighting. You can add light in this way too. So I think it's pretty cool. And definitely, if you don't use power windows, I definitely suggest, using them. They're super helpful, super cool way to be able to really go in and dial in your color grades. So you don't have to just do broad, paint strokes. You can go in and really shape and detail things, and it's just a cool way to do it. So I definitely suggest, if you don't use power windows, make sure you do. Let's check some comments here. What we got is alpha output the equivalent to the media out node in Fusion. Is alpha output the equivalent to the media out node in Fusion? I think so. I think we talked about this last time. I'm not a Fusion Pro, but I think I know what you're asking. Alpha output, the equivalent to media. It probably would be, but I can't speak confidently to that, but I get what you're saying. And if you say you're doing like an alpha output to something, I'm not 100% positive on that. to the media out node in Fusion. I need to use Fusion more, as I think we've been gathering from the last couple of streams, so I can answer that with more confidence. So I'm gonna start looking into Fusion a lot more because I want to be able to answer those questions, but I don't feel super confident to answer that because I don't really mess around with Fusion enough to say yeah for sure. But I feel like you're right. It makes sense. Just reading what you said, it makes sense to me. So I would say I think so, but your guess is as good as mine, to be honest with you. But yeah, like I always leave these streams up. Thank you to everyone who's been watching. So we have some viewers live. So that's really cool. Appreciate everyone for being here. The streams stay up, so you can always check my playlist. I have a live editing session playlist on my YouTube channel. You can check that and see this stream and all the other streams I've done before. Like I said, I have linked everything in the comments below. I mean, in the description, I linked all the videos that I used. So I wanted to give credit. Shout out to all the people that for the footage that I used. I can't name everybody at the moment, but I have linked them. So that's my attempt at giving credit. But yeah, so be sure you go check them out. A lot of those people have a lot of great footage on pexels.com. That's where I got the stuff from. But thank you to everyone for watching again, and be sure to check in next time. Hopefully be able to do this again next Thursday. That's what I'm shooting for Thursday. So thank you again. Until next time. Peace.